Yeah, like I said, I got my funny meme. Let's just touch base briefly on last week's lab. You don't have to get this out, but remember last week with the boiling water lab, we had a graph that looked something like this, where it went up, 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 and it went flattened down. And of course, this is your temp right here. Okay, we had temp here, we had time there. Oh, let's see here, Blaine. Did you like turn the flame off right here? Is that why the temperature stopped going up? Well, what the heck? Why did it stop going up? Yeah, we're boiling right here. And some people this is like 101, some people this is 99. Okay, but basically everyone was boiling right around 100, as they should have been. So when you see a flattened out line like this on a graph for like a liquid in temperature and time, that means it's boiling. That's what that tells you, okay? So that's something that you need to know from here on out. You will understand a little bit more why the graph flattens out in Unit 3. But for now, I want you to know the what. That is, what does this mean when you see a flat line on a graph like this? It means it's boiling. Okay? Just want to be very clear about that. Now let's talk about what's going to be on that test tomorrow and what to expect. The test tomorrow is exactly 50 points on the dot to make my grading math just a little bit easier. They're usually not a multiple of 10, just happen that way. So, how many questions is the test tomorrow, Mr. P? Well, I don't know. It looks to be about 7 on the front. Looks like, yeah, about 13 questions or so. Now, if there's 13 questions and it's 50 points, that means each question's worth on average about 4 points or so. Some are more, some are less. Okay, some of them are easier. Some of them are more like a little bit of an extended response. Okay. What exactly is the content? Well, for one, you need to know your lab equipment and use. So there will be a question on tomorrow's test where I'll just be like, Alexa, what is this? What is this? What is that? What is this? A beaker. Great. What is it used for? Just holding reactions in general, often for heating. What do we not ever use this for? Don't ever use this to measure, okay? So one question on tomorrow's test, I'll hold up a piece of equipment like that, and then I'll be like, boom! What about this? Tweezers, yes. What do we use them for? Picking up small objects, usually ones that are hot, yes. Ones that you don't want to touch with your hand. If you said forceps, that would be just as correct. I'll accept tweezers or forceps for these guys right here. Okay? But I'll be holding 2 objects up tomorrow towards the beginning of the test, and you'll have to tell me what they are and what they do. Okie dokie? So just let that be known. Safety rules. You better know all your safety rules. Those are obviously very important to me because I do not want you getting hurt in the labs. That's why we talked about them earlier in the year. So safety day, there's 23 rules. And it's not going to be stuff like write down word for word rule number 23. It's not going to be like that. But it's going to be asking you like, hey, in this situation, what are important things to keep in mind? Talk to me about the steps of this. What would you do if this happened? That kind of thing. Okay? So again, there's no multiple choice. You're going to have to explain yourself. Alrighty? So things like long hair, disposal of chemicals, of glassware, safety, how do you waft, different types of burns, and what do you do with them, all that good stuff. You'll need to know your types of variables, okay? So dependent, independent, control, all that good stuff will still be on there. Types of Bunsen burner flames and their solutions, okay? So maybe I'll give you a little example like, hey, you turn on your Bunsen burner and this happens, or this doesn't happen. What do you do next? Okay, and again, you'll have to explain your own words. Mr. P, when I explain my own words, what exactly do I have to do? You can use bullet points, you can use full sentences, you can have a little diagram and label it, okay, something like that. Like, as long as you make it clear to me, like you need to sit there and be like, okay, will he know that I know without a shadow of a doubt what I'm talking about? Then you're good. Does that kind of make sense? If you ever have a doubt, you can ask me, like, Mr. P, do you understand where I'm going with this on this? And sometimes I'm like, I need a little bit more detail than that. And other times I'll be like, yeah, seems like it makes sense to me. Graph and interpretation. You will not have to make a graph tomorrow, but you will have to interpret one. Okay? That'd be fair game. Identifying variables, a hypothesis, scientific method, case study. So again, if I give you a paragraph about an experiment or two, you should be able to talk to me about, oh, this is independent, this is dependent, blah, blah, blah. The independent variable is what during an experiment? It's what you're testing, okay? It's the change you made on purpose because you want to test it. You want to see what it does, okay? What effects does it cause? The dependent variable is what you are measuring or observing, okay? So think back to the muscle cream from the graphing quiz. The independent variable was the muscle cream, okay, because we chose to test that on purpose. But how much weight they lifted, that's what we were actually observing. Make sense? Let me get my eraser word. There we go. So that's all those. Your lab practical, so that is something that you'll have to physically do. Okay, you'll have those sometimes. That's what a lab practical is. You need to physically do something, perform something. So stuff like lighting a Bunsen burner. You will have to light a Bunsen burner in front of me and kill it properly with all the safety requirements. So safety would be hair tie back and goggles. That's right. To get your 5 points. I will be calling people later in the period. If you want to do your lab practical, your Bunsen burner practical, I should say, today, you can. A whole bunch of people got their 5 out of 5s last period. That can be used, so you don't have to worry about it tomorrow. Okay? But I'll be calling people up later in the period for that. Reading a graduated cylinder. You need to know how to read a graduated cylinder. Okay? So if you have a graduated cylinder right here, that's 3, that's 4, and it comes right here. Then you have to tell me, oh, that's 3 something, and then you have to estimate. Okay? Point, I don't know, 6 maybe milliliters. So remember, you always have to estimate one spot after the tiniest little tick mark on there. So the tiniest tick mark is a whole milliliter, then you have to estimate to the 10th. If the tiniest tick mark is the 10th, you have to estimate to 100. Make sense? Okie dokie. And you need to be able to identify lab equipment in use. So maybe in your lab practical, there will be another piece of lab equipment that you have to identify. Okie dokie. So just make sure you know all your lab equipment. Now, what am I supposed to do for the rest of the period today, Mr. P? Well, you should be working on this. I'm not providing physical answer keys to this one, but you can check the Schoology page in the Monday folder, which if you're watching this video right now, that's where you currently are. Just got to scroll down. And you can check the answer key there if you want. Of course, you can always bug me. You can always bug your partner. I'm not grading this. This is for you. Now, you do have to work on it while you're here, but you don't have to work on it outside of this class if you don't need to. But I strongly suggest that you do the whole thing. Anything on here is fair game. Anything that's not on here is probably not going to be on your Unit 1 test. Other options for what you want to study today, or how you want to study today. Maybe Mia's like, oh, my lab equipment stuff's a little rusty. She can go ahead and go to her station, open up her drawers, be like, oh, yeah, that's the clay triangle. And so she kind of get her hands on things, that helps her remember, okay? And you can also practice lighting your Bunsen burners for a little while.